The narrative sold is one of kinetic defense, a Golden Dome missile shield tested over key American territory designed to intercept a symmetric attack. This is a strategic misdirection. The entire premise is obsolete. While legacy systems focus on billion-dollar interceptors, the real vectors are designed to bypass the shield entirely. As detailed by the South China Morning Post, swarm warfare tactics now allow a single soldier to deploy 200 drones. Concurrently, wiper malware like DynoWiper is deployed to erase critical infrastructure, as documented by the Hacker News. These are not weapons, they are economic solvents with a near-zero kinetic cost. The primary vector is not impact, it is silence. The Institute for the Study of War has tracked Russian offensive campaigns, but the most critical operations are invisible. Both RUSI and CSIS have issued irrefutable reports on the systemic mapping of undersea fiber optic cables, the central nervous system of global markets and military command. The objective is to create the blind Leviathan, a superpower severed from its data streams, a nation-state that cannot see, cannot communicate, and cannot verify global financial transactions. When its eyes and ears are gone, its only remaining sensory organ is the launch-on warning protocol. This is not a battle. It is a switch. The motive is not conquest. It is solvency. According to a January 2026 assessment from the Institute for the Study of War, the Russian offensive is a kinetic meat grinder, consuming material and political capital at an unsustainable rate. CSIS analysis confirms this trajectory. Protracted symmetric warfare becomes a terminal domestic liability. The state is bleeding out. It cannot afford to win a war of attrition against a superior economic bloc. When a state is facing strategic insolvency, its operational protocol must pivot. It is a mathematical certainty. You cannot continue a fight you cannot afford. Therefore, you must change the economic formula of the conflict itself. You abandon the symmetric, high-cost kinetic fight and embrace asymmetry as a survival mechanism. This pivot is not a sign of desperation. It is a calculated attack on the opponent's balance sheet. The objective is to make the adversary's strength, its expensive, high-tech defense systems, its single greatest liability. Reports from the South China Morning Post detail swarm tactics where a single soldier can deploy 200 drones. The Hacker News documents wiper malware like DynoWiper, designed to neutralize critical infrastructure. The enemy's weakness forces this pivot. The motive is to bypass the trillion-dollar Golden Dome shield, not penetrate it. By deploying vectors that are too numerous to intercept kinetically and too cheap to justify the exchange, the aggressor imposes a solvency crisis on the defender. The goal is to demonstrate that the superpower's most expensive asset is strategically bankrupt, forcing a choice between humiliation or vertical escalation. This is not war, it is economic demolition. The central equation is a solvency crisis. Analysts at RUSI have quantified the kinetic cost exchange. On one side, a $5 million main battle tank, the apex of industrial warfare. On the other, a $500 first-person view drone. That is a 10,000 to 1 cost asymmetry. The math is irrefutable. You are not trading a knight for a pawn. You are trading a queen for a single grain of rice. This is the blueprint for the democratization of violence. The term does not imply fairness. It signals a systemic collapse in the barrier to entry for inflicting catastrophic damage. High lethality vectors are no longer the exclusive domain of nation-states. They are available to anyone with a credit card and an internet connection. State-backed actors leverage this by proxy, as seen in the Sandworm unit's deployment of wiper malware against critical infrastructure, but the kinetic vector is even more direct. Official sources, like the South China Morning Post, now showcase the protocol. A single soldier commanding a swarm of 200 drones. This isn't a force multiplier, it's a new state of matter in warfare. Every $5 million asset now has 10,000 potential termination events pointed at it. each costing less than a dinner for two. The expensive shield, the Golden Dome tested over American territory, is designed to stop a dozen multi-million-dollar missiles, not $10,500 Hornets. The economic model of defense is inverted. This is not a strategic error. It's a mathematical certainty. The primary theater of operations is not where legacy media directs your attention. The real conflict is staged in the gray zone, destabilized regions that function as systemic proxy laboratories. This is not chaos. It is a clinical environment for stress testing Western vulnerabilities at near zero kinetic cost. Analysts at CSIS and RUSI note that adversaries use these zones for asymmetric arbitrage. They field test low-cost, high-impact weapon systems against Western-style infrastructure without triggering a conventional military response. The goal isn't territorial gain. It is data acquisition and vulnerability mapping. The Institute for the Study of Wars assessments on Eastern Europe provide the blueprint. Every engagement is a data point, refining the precise swarm size needed to overwhelm a sensor or the malware variant required to cripple a grid. China's showcased ability for a single soldier to launch 200 drones is a direct output of this laboratory model, as documented by the South China Morning Post. This renders the entire concept of a static defense like the Golden Dome missile shield a catastrophic liability. While capital is frozen in these expensive, symmetric assets, the asymmetric threat vector is being perfected for pennies on the dollar in a proxy state thousands of miles away. The instability in a region like South Africa or warnings for Canada are not the core threat. They are symptoms of their selection as staging grounds. The gray zone is where the solvency of Western power is mathematically dismantled before the first shot is ever fired at the homeland. The launch on warning doctrine is a relic, a tripwire designed for an analog world. The protocol is simple. If early warning radar detects an incoming mass missile launch, you launch your own forces before they are destroyed in their silos. It is a use it or lose it solvency crisis, but the wire is no longer physical, it is digital. When a cyber attack blinds the radar, the commander is forced into an impossible decision. This is the fog of digital war. The system has no data. The protocol has only one interpretation for a sudden, total loss of sensory input: decapitation. The commander must assume the warning systems were the first target in a full-scale assault. This is not a theoretical vector. According to the Hacker News, DynoWiper malware was deployed in an attempt to neutralize the Polish power sector. This is the blueprint. Wiper malware is not designed to steal data. It is designed to irrevocably erase it, to digitally burn the infrastructure to the ground. Deployed against a radar network, it creates instantaneous, systemic blindness. The multi-billion-dollar Golden Dome missile shield is a kinetic solution to a kinetic problem. It offers zero solvency against a malware vector. Faced with silent screens, the commander's choice is mathematical. Wait for confirmation and risk 100% asset liquidation, or execute the launch on warning protocol based on the digital ghost. The system is engineered to fail into a launch posture. This is the trap. The calibration event will occur at a key American territory in the Pacific, a node defended by a nascent Golden Dome shield. The vector will not be kinetic. Within the next 12 months, expect a coordinated, attribution-impossible blackout targeting the primary logistical port and its associated data centers. Analysts at RUSI note that this protocol mirrors Russian playbooks documented in their offensive assessments. The mechanism will be twofold. First, a wiper malware variant, analogous to the DynoWiper deployed against the Polish power sector, will be injected into the grid's industrial control systems. This is not sabotage. It is a demonstration of systemic access. This is the digital solvency test. Simultaneously, the territory's air defense identification zone will be saturated by a low-cost, high-volume drone swarm. Sourced from a state actor but disguised as a commercial or meteorological event, These 200-plus units, mirroring tactics showcased by the PLA, will not attack. Their purpose is to stress the shield's tracking systems, force a high alert status, and mask the digital intrusion under a manufactured physical crisis. The result is a strategic blackout with perfect deniability. No missiles fired, no casualties, no clear perpetrator. The shield's failure is not kinetic, but systemic. The defending power is left with a multi-billion-dollar liability and no legitimate target for retaliation. The calibration is complete.